Time for another edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3, and Sam and I are happy to welcome the tennis coach at CHS. Chris Bloom, welcome.
It's good to be here.
Tennis season begins when?
We start early March. We've been doing workouts for the girls right now, but we had the boys season in the fall, so things are getting started for the girls. And
okay, early March. The weather.
The weather's not good for this season, so
you don't know. It's not an indoor sport, is it?
It's not an indoor
not
sport,
an indoor sport, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's back? And what are you expecting?
We return about 5-6 girls that have varsity experience. Not a very successful season last year. This is my first year coaching it, so this is new, but they weren't win-losses. They didn't have a lot of wins. I think somebody told me it was around 5. So to me, though, it feels like I'm taking over the boys because we were pretty low at first, but we started workouts last week and had quite a few girls in. So
good.
If we're willing to put in some time, there'll be a lot of quick improvements, hopefully.
You play all the conference schools in our Eastern Indiana Athletic Conference?
Yeah, we'll play them once in the season, and then we do our conference tournament is individual, so they all get to see them then, and then we get to see a couple in sectional too. So,
okay, doing your research, who looks strongest on your schedule?
Oh, it's similar to the boys. On the girls' side, it's Greensburg's usually tough. Batesville. You've got Oldenburg is a very good girls program. So they're usually the top of the boys too. So when we play them on our schedule, so it'll be interesting. Our first year, I thought I knew a lot going in with the boys, but we had a lot to learn after our first couple matches. It opened my eyes to what really needed to be worked on. So
boys, so what kind of team will you have?
We return everybody except for our number 1 singles player this upcoming year. And so last year we won sectional in the fall, so we won our home invitational. We had 2 all-conference players that won their position at conference, and they are returning. So the future is really bright.
Yeah.
And we're looking for a great season. We have a lot of young guys that are taking an interest into tennis, and so pretty exciting for me.
Is there much difference, you think, in coaching girls and boys in tennis? I mean, it's the same game, right?
It's the same game, yes. It is slightly different. I mean, this is my first experience coaching girls, so just from the first workout, and most of them I know don't know me as well as the boys do from coaching some basketball, but it was more business-like. It was very focused, and so I like business, but I also like to enjoy our time. So I know that it'll take some time, but I mean, skill-wise, it's the same between boys and girls. They need to be able to hit the same shots and those things. But so I guess if there is a difference, it's power.
Yes.
There's just a little bit. There's less power in the girls' game than boys, so it becomes a little bit more finesse.
Doing both teams, is there any schedule conflict? Do they have a same night, same day they play?
No, because boys are in the fall and girls are in the spring, so there is no conflict. But we're looking, I mean, we've been talking about trying to start something in middle school, and we only have 6 courts, so that makes it very difficult for that to happen because our courts at the park are not in the best shape, so they're not really usable.
What about the new field house? Will it have some indoor capabilities?
Yeah, we're going to be able to put nets up in there so that we'll be able to actually hit in the gym, and you can buy different types of tennis balls that are better for indoor. So
that'll be good, I would think, for the girls, especially if they play in the spring with weather. You can get them started a little bit.
Yep, it'll be nice all around. Then when we get weather in the fall for the boys, we can get inside and actually work on things instead of we have to modify a lot, which it's okay. It allows them to keep working on the finer skills of the game, which they need to work on because tennis isn't started for most of the kids until they get into high school. So But yes, the field house is going to be a really nice addition for the program, just moving forward and getting more time to work with the kids.
Did you play tennis in school?
Yes, I did. Played 4 years. Picked the racket up going into high school.
You did pretty well, didn't you?
I played 3 singles my sophomore year and did pretty well that year, and played number 1 singles my junior and senior year. So.
What about college?
No, I didn't play college. Just went to school.
Do you play for fun now at all? Or?
Yeah, I'll get out, and me and my wife will get out and play some. We haven't played as much as we'd like to, like we did in the past with a couple kids now, but we like to get out and have a couple friends we get out and play.
Good.
You also coach basketball.
Yep, middle school, 8th grade.
Tell us about your team.
This year we were 13-3, and we're a pretty solid team. This 8th grade class is pretty deep. It's going to be a lot of fun to see them moving forward, but we just had a lot of boys that came in and worked hard and really tried to soak things up and learn. You get in on the 8th grade white, you get a lot of kids that come from, a couple kids that come from the red team the previous year that we think need to develop in some areas so they get that opportunity. And 13-3 is pretty successful, but the gauge for me is we had some close games, and they do a good job of executing when it matters, and they really try to focus, but sometimes you don't pull those out, which is why we lost some of our games. But those are the kind of things, if they execute and it looks like they're going to be able to handle adversity in high school, that's the kind of things we like to see at that age.
White team and the red team were both successful. There's going to be a lot of competition for freshman basketball at CHS, right?
I would imagine. I mean, I can't see many of them not wanting to play, and with, I guess you call it the hype around the class. They're very good. They're loaded with talent, and that competition is good because it's going to force more of the kids to work even harder to try to earn their time, and depth is something that is always good.
And one thing about at that level, it really doesn't matter if they play on the red team or the white team, because things change when they get to high school. That we had 2 seniors, and I had them both on the air, and I think one of them played on the red team, the other one played on the white team when they were in middle school, and they both are successful.
Yeah, I don't think that it matters. When I was in school, I thought it mattered. But taking to the coaching side of it, it doesn't, to me, matter. I think that some kids need to develop into leaders, and that may mean that they need to come to the white team so they can help lead the team and take on that role, because if they're on the red team, sometimes they're more just a role player, and they don't get that experience to step out and kind of guide others to a higher level. And so that's kind of a plus for me. And but I don't think that it matters so much. I know that playing competition that's higher level is good, but we play quite a few teams on our white team schedule that give us good competition. They're that help push the kids. But yeah, Dylan Logan was one that I had that you're talking about, and he was a red team player his 7th grade year, and he came and played on the white team, and he really built some confidence playing with me, and he was my point guard, and he was my leader, and he did a very good job. And it's always exciting for me to see the kids stick in the program and actually make it to the varsity level and make contribution. It lets me tell the kids that it's possible, even though you're on the white team, you can get there if you want to.
And if they're pretty good, get more playing time than probably they would on the red team.
Yes.
So
that is
I see that kids on the junior varsity that maybe think that they could play on the varsity, and yeah, maybe they could, but is it more important to get to play 24, 25 minutes a game in junior varsity and get some skills, or sit at the end of the bench?
I mean, I think that experience is crucial for kids. and it's always better to be in the game than to be sitting. You're not going to develop if you just sit and watch. So it is the same thing. I kind of, as an 8th grade white coach, you got to sell that to some of the kids that you're going to get to play more, you're going to get to do some things that you weren't asked to do in previous years, and just use it to grow, use it to push you. And we always talk about competing with each other, but also understanding that you do have those that are on the other team that you're trying to improve so that you can step back over with them and show that you can play and earn that time when you're all together again.
What are the academic requirements for a middle schooler?
Requirements, in order to play, they have to have, I think, a 2.0 is what it is. I have not had to deal with academic issues
Good.
for a while,
Good.
which is nice. We always talk about if you can't handle yourself in the classroom, whether it's grades or behavior, then you're not going to be trusted on the court. It only takes one time for a teacher to come to me and then nice little conversation, and then it changes because we just have high expectations of the boys, and
Sure.
we tell them that we'll use anything and that we can to push you, but also that if your teammates are doing what they're supposed to and you're not, kind of hold you back there. So
You understand too, having come through that system and having played varsity basketball, that surely you can help relate to those young guys what it means to be a Spartan.
yeah, we talk a lot about things that I went through, things that I wish I would have done differently. I try to tell them that, you don't want to waste your time. You don't want it to just pass and say, I wish I would have. And I said, we all have those times, but I said, my goal is that I keep pushing you past that you don't think about those things, you just keep thinking about what you want to achieve. Because I said that if you really want it, then we're going to push you to get to where you want to be. But it is nice being able to relate to them, and having lived here in Connersville and grown up, and basketball is the sport here in Connersville. There's no doubt about that. So we talk about being held to a higher standard because of the spotlight that you're in, but you should be holding yourself to a higher standard anyway, regardless.
I've heard kids say, "Oh, I don't want to play for that guy. I don't want to do this. Don't like what he does." And I've said to them, "You have 4 years of eligibility, and that's it. You better grab a hold of it."
Yeah, sounds like conversations I have with my elementary kids in PE, and talk about there are things you don't like to do that sometimes you just have to do. And if you really love the game, you're gonna show up, and you're still gonna love the game. And we talk about just different ways to win. It's not a cookie cutter thing where it's one specific way wins. And that's a young boy.
Yeah, sure.
That's exactly what kind of comment that is you just kind of steer them. If it was a passion for you, it needs to stay a passion. You don't just all of a sudden up and not like it because of one thing. But yeah, it's a pretty funny comment that you hear sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is.
As a coach, you're often an extension of the kid's family. Do these youngsters come to you with personal problems?
Sometimes I have parents that come to me and ask me to talk with their boys about things that are going on that I might be able to just kind of be just another voice.
Sure.
And so that's probably, to me, one of the more enjoyable parts of the job, is just getting to know the boys even more. So then just they're showing up, I know their skills in a sport or whatever, but just getting to know them and that their parents trust that our relationship is strong enough and that they can come to me for that. I mean, and that takes time to build, but coaches have a huge impact. It's a very important role. You're with the kids quite a bit during season, so it needs to be more than just the sport. There needs to be a real relationship built there. So once that happens, they'll do about anything you ask.
Yeah.
So
Must be very satisfying when a youngster comes to you and thanks you for helping him.
Yeah, it is. We don't get paid enough in what we do, and it's about
Sure.
the kids being successful. And
Right.
and I always tell the parents, I hope they learn something from me. That they learn, how to treat each other a little bit better, how to work a little bit harder, whatever it is. But when we talk about just wanting to see the boys come back and be successful in life, and
Yes.
so basketball, tennis, it all ends at some point. And so we want to be able to fall back on something and have those relationships that we've built through the years, because it all ends up ending at some point. But sports are a great teacher of some life lessons.
I'm sure going into education-based athletics and being a teacher that you didn't go into this for the money to begin with, that you do it because you like to do it. You expect to be paid,
Yep.
but you do it because you like to do it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, teaching elementary PE, it has its days that are difficult, and but I mean, the kids absolutely love what you do. They love coming to class, and so it makes my job even more enjoyable, and it just bleeds right into coaching. It's the same reason. I mean, I love the sport itself, but if it was just about the sport, I think it'd be very difficult to enjoy all of coaching, because it's not always easy. And so if you don't love the kids, it's going to be very hard to still love that sport, to deal with all the different things that go along with coaching.
In basketball, the Spartans won game number 15 Saturday night. I know you had a chance to see the varsity team. What do you think?
I think that we play very hard. I think we do a great job every year. I mean, Carrie does a great job of getting the boys ready to play every night. And I think that we just find a way late in games to out execute people. I mean, if it's a 3-point game late, I mean, it's just like, okay, so what are we going to do? Because we're going to find a way to get this, it always seems like. And I mean, that's a credit to the coaching staff and what they do, because you have to harp on that stuff, and they do a great job of knowing the tendencies of the other teams and able to really pick at those things late in the game. And but I'm excited to see what the boys can do. If they can make a run. I always love to go watch that, so I hope they do. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Well, the section's right around the corner, but we had a ball game Saturday night, as we mentioned, and Lawrenceburg came to town. Sam, we won a conference game.
Yeah, and 6-1 in the conference. We're hoping, we're pulling for East Central this Friday night when they play the Greensburg Pirates. If East Central can knock them off, then it's a 3-way tie for conference, and it'll be our 5th or 6th in a row.
5th, I think.
Fifth in a
Right,
row
yeah.
of conference, at least a share of the conference crown.
Right,
So we've had a great group. The other thing that I didn't realize that, when we talked to the seniors the other night, that those two guys in the last 4 years at Spartan Bowl have a record of 40-2.
Gee, I didn't realize that.
And
That's
that's quite an accomplishment,
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely,
But,
yeah.
they have protected home turf for sure.
TV3 was at that game, and here are some of the highlights from it from our TV3 telecast.
It was a pretty good crowd on hand for a Saturday night. Usually Friday
Yes, there
nights are
was.
better.
It was a great crowd, a great home crowd, and we always, fans always come out. The kids, I know, commented on that after the game, how they build off the crowd, the energy that they get from the crowd and fans.
Jonah getting us off to another good start. Man, he has the last several games.
Well, Jonah, you leave him open in the corner, and man, you're playing with fire, I'll tell you.
Kind of reminded me of you, Chris. You used to like step back there and knock those down as well.
I think it's at number 5.
Hey, you think that's what it is?
What it is.
Yeah, that's right. He wears your number.
Did you wear number 5?
I wore number 5.
Hey, how about that?
They've been a lot of fun to watch. That was a good game. We had a fun game down at Brookville on the night before.
Yes.
So. And this Lawrenceburg team, pretty good team, I thought. They're scrappy, and
Well, they gave us all we wanted there in that third quarter, and I talked to the coach about it afterward. He said, well, they just came out with more energy than our kids, and they got within 5 points at the end of the third quarter. So,
yes, they did. But coach called timeout, settled them down, and
yes,
it's got to be hard because at that point in the game, I know he likes layups and free throws, and kids standing out there wide open and can pump in a three, and then when it doesn't go in, it's hard. It's hard to keep them, I'm sure, from shooting those when our style is to get fouled and try to get to the free throw line late in the game. And it has won us a lot of games in the last several years doing that. Ethan steps back and gets one.
yeah, this is a good three-point shooting team.
Pretty balanced on it as well.
It's Clay Garrison.
Yeah, Clay can knock him down. Yeah, when we see big Jake Brown step out there and knock him down, we know we got a three-point team, three-point shooting team. But,
right, yeah, the fans gave Noah and Dylan both applause when they came out of the game because of the seniors, the two seniors on the squad. Sports this week at CHS, Spartan basketball, JV and varsity, final regular season game will be at Northeastern. On Saturday, gymnastics sectional at Connorsville at 11 o'clock. It has a start. And Chris, I'm going to ask you where that's at. Is that at the gym or at the bowl? Do you know the sectional?
I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure.
It might be at the bowl, but I'm not positive. Anyway, we hope the fans will come out and support the lady gymnastics team that the Spartans have in the sectional. At the middle school, girls basketball, the red team will be at South Dearborn on Wednesday. The white team schedule is completed. The wrestling team will be home Monday with Sunman Dearborn at Madison Saturday for the Bear Rumble at 8:30 o'clock. That's B-E-A-R. I think we should maybe let the folks know what kind of bear it is.
Not B-A-R.
Just in case, right? You never know. And
it's not the old Greek Olympics.
The records of area boys basketball teams, Union County is 12-9, won 80-53 over Union City. They'll be at East Central Tuesday, at Milan on Friday. Franklin County is 2-17. They lost to the Spartans 48-23. They close at Richmond on Friday. Richmond is 10-13, won 81-62 over Anderson. As we mentioned, they host the Wildcats on Friday from Franklin County. Centerville is 5-15. The Bulldogs lost 54-51 at Troy High. They will be at Wapahani Tuesday, home with Cambridge City on Friday. Rushville is 8-12. They won 50-44 over Orlenburg Academy. Home with Batesville on Monday. They'll be at North Decatur on Friday. Cambridge City is 6-13. They lost 85-60 to Seton Catholic. They'll be at Centerville Friday and at Smith Academy on Saturday. So the regular season is coming to an end.
Certainly is. It's really come too quickly.
That's right.
Seems like we opened up night before Thanksgiving. Of course, that's my favorite night at school.
Sure. Union County comes to town,
and one of these days when the boys are done, I'll have that number again as to how many days until we have that game.
Start to count down to the girls.
Chris, help me out here. You graduated in 2006, is that six?
Yeah.
Hard to believe. That's 13 years ago, man.
I don't like to think about that too much. It feels like a long time.
But what about your experience playing at the Bowl?
It was awesome. I mean, just every night stepping out, I just remember we talked about this probably at the games. Every once in a while I talk to my wife about remembering just hearing the pregame, the roar of the crowd, just kind of talking, and just the band playing, and just the excitement around it. And I wouldn't have wanted to play high school basketball at any other school just because it felt like this was the only place that had it right. But it was an amazing experience. I mean, the boys talked about feeding off the crowd. There's nothing like a Connorsville crowd.
I'm stealing Jim Nance's saying about the Masters Golf Tournament. It's a tradition like none other at Spartan Bowl.
I agree.
Might talk about the sectional coming up. The Spartans will not play until Friday night. For the first time in a while, they drew a bye, which means they don't play 2 games to win, and that's it.
That's right. And we'll play either Greenfield Central or New Palestine,
right?
A team that we've played both of those and defeated them both, but they were both close games.
Right. New Pal is 13-8. They have the second best schedule of teams going into the sectional. The Spartans have the best record. New Pal, as you say, play Greenfield on. No, they'll be playing Greenwood on Friday to end up their season, and they meet Greenfield Central in the first sectional game. Greenfield Central is 4-18. Greenfield closes their regular season Wednesday at Plainfield. Greenfield and New Pal played in December. New Pal won by 10, 75-65. So
I think that might be a pretty good rivalry. They're both in the same county.
That's true.
So
right.
Of course, anything can happen at tournament time.
Yeah, it does, right. Records don't mean a whole lot. Pendleton Heights will be playing in the second ball game against Richmond. Pendleton Heights 7-15. Richmond is also 7-15. Pendleton plays Indianapolis North Central on Tuesday to complete their season. Richmond's at home Friday with Franklin County. Pendleton and Richmond, they didn't play each other during the regular season, so they'll be their first meeting. And then Friday night, it'll be the Spartans, as you pointed out, playing either New Pal or Greenfield Central. Depends on who comes out of that first ball game. The Spartans won by a 50-49 score against New Pal on February the 9th. They went over Greenfield 53-51 back in December. So Mount Vernon, they drew the other bye. They're 8-11. They closed the regular season with 2 games this week. Tuesday, they'll be taking on Westfield, and they'll be playing Yorktown on Friday. And they play either Richmond or Pendleton Heights, depending on Friday's second game. The Marauders won 37-34 over Pendleton during the season. Mount Vernon and Richmond, they didn't play during the season. So.
I think Mount Vernon is the defending sectional champion.
Yes, they derailed the Spartans in the semifinals and went on to beat New Pal, I believe, in the championship game on Saturday night.
Pretty balanced sectional.
It really is.
And I like Spartans' chances. They've played several times due to the wedding tournament and a regular season game against Richmond at Tiernan Center. And I think that helps them with familiarity. They've been there and played there. Be nice to have it at the Grand Palace up here on Grand Avenue, but it is what it is.
Spartans won 4 games and lost 1 against this opposition. The only game they lost against section opponents was the Mount Vernon game.
And that was on a last-second shot there. Tough game. Wouldn't mind playing them again.
Chris, as a player, would you like to play a team a second time very soon, or does it make a difference?
I don't think it makes a difference other than, you're more familiar of what went on if it's a close game. But if you've seen them, and then you're gonna be ready for them. I mean, the more time that was in between it, the more changes that could happen throughout that season to change the way the team plays. So.
And we talked a little bit, Sam brought up before we went on the air that the long layover of Connersville playing Tuesday night and then not until a week from Friday. How does that affect the team?
The speed of the game's different than practice sometimes. I mean, you can try to go game speed, but just those nerves in a game can kind of change things. So,
Chris, thanks for joining us. Chris Bloom, tennis coach at CHS. You've got a big task coming up here, the girls and then the boys, and then basketball at the middle school. You keep busy.
I do. Yeah, too busy sometimes.
Congratulations on being the coach, and the best of luck in all of your sports.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody, for watching this edition here of TV3 of the Spartan Sports Report. Good evening.